Brian, my old friend.
Shante.
Thank you for
my
being
ever
here.
young friend.
My ever young friend. Thank you. Brian, I think where I want to start this interview is the super serious stuff.
Super serious.
Yeah, and talking
Okay.
about...
I'm going to put my face on.
At one point, you were a top-ranked
racquetball
racquetball player for the state of Utah. Is that correct?
What do you mean at one point?
Are you still top-ranked?
Well.
No.
Define top-ranked.
But you did play the current #1 worldwide ranked racquetball player?
Player in the world.
In the world for like 12... Is it a 12 or 13-year running streak?
Oh, it's an eternity. He's a machine. He's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Proud to call him my friend. Kane, if you're watching, it's good to see you. I'm sure he's watching. That's what racquetball players
We'll
do.
reach out to Kane.
But yeah, I had a great, fun racquetball career. And
Right.
It's in the past a little bit.
But overall, you're quite the athlete. Like, before that, it was...
You said it.
was jiu-jitsu?
Judo. Yeah, that was my dad's sport growing up. He would take me to Virginia Beach, and we would do judo, and I did that for a number of years. And then I got into racquetball, and in college, my wife and I and two friends won the BYU volleyball intramural championships.
Volleyball, so you can add volleyball to your list.
It goes on.
It was squash ball.
Oh, just squash.
Squash.
You don't need to say squash ball. That would be like saying you play tennis ball.
Okay, so squash. What is it about just athletics, though? I mean, is it just the raw energy of it, or is it like the skill? I mean, what do you love about athletics? I
love being active. I'm not as competitive today, but I still like to be active, and I think that just being involved in a sport when you're young teaches you discipline, and it gives you some reference point for how to be active in your golden years, which I am in now.
No, not at all.
Not quite yet. But I enjoy being active. It feels good. That's kind of how I recharge my battery, make sure that my body feels good. Eat, Move, Sleep, great book. Those are the ways that you can naturally moderate how you feel. What you eat, and how you're moving, and how you're sleeping.
And you're a father, so do you instill these same things into your kids? Do you encourage them to get out? I always see photos on Instagram of you walking and going on hikes.
Yeah.
Just adventures.
We do.
Hanging out with the Utah Jazz.
Yep, all those things. I do. I try to expose my kids to things that will help them be healthy and enjoy a good life as well.
Perfect. Now, so right now you are the Senior Vice President of Marketing at For Life. And we'll talk about For Life in a minute.
Great company.
You joined For Life in pretty recently, February
12th.
Okay, and what was the enticement? Because I know you went from a company that was a startup mode, maybe that ramp up mode, to For Life's been around for 20 years. You just celebrated.
Yep.
You had a convention. It was the 20-year convention.
That's right.
So, what was the enticement to join such a founded company?
So let me start by saying why I joined the company that I was at before that, which is a startup.
Mm-hmm.
So I got my start in this industry, which is the direct selling industry, back in 1999. And since then, I've worked at a number of kind of startup type companies and then some well-established companies. I've joined a couple of the companies within their first year of operations, and then I've worked at companies that are 25 and 30 years old. But I had never worked at a company that was just starting. I had never had the opportunity to build a brand from scratch. And that's the opportunity that I had at this company that I was at prior to For Life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with them for a year and a half, and we were able to develop the brand, the mission, the values, the products, the marketing, the digital marketing, the print marketing, the business plan, and we launched it. And I was with them for the first full entire year of being launched, plus the 6 months or so building it, And we launched, had our convention, had 6,000 people at our grand opening.
Wow.
And a year later, after starting, we kind of retooled 2 products and launched a new product. So we had 6 products, and things were going really well, still are at that company, great company. And I got a call from a recruiter, and there really weren't too many brands that could cause me to kind of take my head up from my desk and pay attention to. and maybe consider another opportunity. But For Life was one of those companies. I was really busy at the time that I got the call, and so I kind of put the recruiter off in a way. I was like, hey, can I get back to you next week? And I sent an email, and within 10 minutes he called me, and I was like, okay, I'll just kind of resolve this right now. And when he said it was For Life, I was like, okay, so let's talk. For Life's a fantastic company.
So David Lisenby, their founder,
Yes.
David and Bianca, his wife, Lisenby, they founded in 1998. Now the company, I love this quote that he mentions where in their first month of operation, they only made like $250.
Wow, yeah.
Like they were very much, and that's different than the typical MLM kind of company where you see that hockey stick growth. But I think you and I were talking months ago, and we were talking about For Life, and every time I think of For Life, I think of them as this like unassuming like powerhouse where they
You're so spot on.
Just like quietly do the thing that they want to do. And now they're just this huge company, but they're still like, you don't see them in terms of like the glitz and like the high profile stuff. So talk about For Life, what their main cornerstone product is, and just the whole suite of products, and kind of that evolution over the last 20 years.
Yeah. Anyway, great setup, great commentary on For Life, such a good company. And so when I started interviewing, the first thing that struck me was the science behind the company and the product. They have what's called the transfer factor. The transfer factor, it's not a vitamin or a mineral or a typical substance that is sold through direct selling, although we have all that. But transfer factor is a molecule, and it acts as the communication tool for beneficial immune system information. It's found in colostrum. Mothers give it to babies, human mothers to babies, cows to baby cows. These are calves, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
also baby cows.
Baby cows. I like to refer to them as baby cows.
Okay.
But it's such an important tool to communicate this immune system information so that the baby can be healthy. And in today's diet, I think, we all wish that we could kind of keep this important component in our diet. And so we can do that. People harvest colostrum, and we have a patented transfer factor that serves as a foundation for all of our products. And it helps us do the 3 R's. Are you ready for the 3 R's?
I'm ready for the 3 R's.
Recognize, remember. No, recognize, respond to, and remember.
Okay.
Threats that come in. So that's what the immune system does. It recognizes threats that come in, it helps respond to them, and then it helps for the future remember what those were so that you can better respond to them in the future. So For Life is the leader in immune system health, and that's kind of where the product line started.
Now, in terms of marketing that, we work for a company, a number of health and wellness companies, one being Dr. Axe. And we started working with Dr. Axe when he was just emerging into the marketplace, which is super competitive. The problem is there's so much information out there. But his way of growing his brand was to provide education. Like, he provided the products and supplements. What is For Life's approach to marketing? Something that's super, super important, but also can sound really technical and maybe be polarizing in that regard.
Yeah, great question. So one thing that I've started to emphasize since I got on there is when I was hearing about the transfer factor, I just kept hearing over and over again in my mind, I am a transfer factor. We, the employees, are all transfer factors, and our distributors are transfer factors. So what does that mean? If the transfer factor molecule communicates beneficial immune system information from one party to another, what do we as employees do? We communicate the good things about For Life to our distributors. And the distributors do the same thing to their customers. They are the communication tool to communicate to other people about all the good things that For Life has to offer. So that's how we simplify the message.
It's hard when you have distributors because they tend to maybe go their own way.
Sure.
Because they are really owning a share of the voice, right? And the part of the brand. And they're also trying to define their own brand in terms of thought leadership and authority within not just For Life, but like the entire marketplace, with their team. How is it, because that's a unique situation for for business. Like
Mm-hmm.
you almost have three audiences. You have employees, you have consumers, and
That's
then
right.
you have this squirrely bunch of distributors. How do you work with them on honing that message and also maybe editing against that message?
Training. So that's another area of focus that we have. I've worked at probably half a dozen excellent direct selling companies in this valley. And I would say that in general, all direct selling companies are good at creating tools, products, marketing materials, Facebook Lives, videos, events, things that help generate excitement and education about what it is. We deliver a product, right? We're good at that. In general, the industry, step two, communicating that and getting it out there, getting the word out, I would say we're pretty good at that in the industry. So that's when corporate sends out the emails, letting the distributors know what's going on. We do the Facebook Lives where we communicate it. We hold the big events where we unveil products. We do a pretty good job at that. The third step, in my opinion, in general, in the industry, kind of falls off the cliff. And I don't think that we do as good of a job as we can, and that's the training. Because honestly, and you've worked in this type of a flow where you get an assignment and you need to create a product or a communication or a media asset, and you create it, and then it's gone on to the next person, and then you have 5 other assignments, and so you're not able to fully support that product or that project as well as it needs to be. And so that's the focus we have at For Life, is taking it to that third step and making sure that the training happens in the field so that all the work that's been done on a product or a project can be fully appreciated and realized.
And then what's the best way that you've found in doing that to glean feedback that then you go and use to edit the process and flow of everything?
Yeah, so I think probably the most effective thing we have right now is a how-to Facebook group. So Facebook is changing all the time, and we've lost our organic reach as a business, as you know, and there's a couple things that we've done to kind of get around that. And one is to create a group. You get the distributors in there, and now you're just talking to your serious distributors, people that are truly interested in the product. Because on Facebook proper, Facebook public, Facebook corporate, you have your distributors, but you also have family members, employees, competitors, and a kind of a bigger audience. But we created this how-to group where they know that the specific purpose of the group is to be trained on the things that we're releasing. So we put a lot of effort into training on that group.
Now you're in marketing now. You're the senior vice president of marketing, and then you've also consulted on marketing. I don't know if you still do, but you have like quite a few years booked in the marketing, but you didn't start out in marketing. At least you didn't graduate with, both your degrees are in different fields. So maybe talk about what those are: international studies and English. You have a master's in English?
Right, yeah. So, okay. So.
And then how that, what led to marketing?
Yeah, perfect. So I lived in Japan for 2 years, and so I was pretty fluent in Japanese. And I thought that I would just be able to kind of turn that into some kind of an international businessman career speaking Japanese, in Japan. And honestly, going through college, I was always a good student, kind of like straight A's and, had a good GPA all the time. But then when I was in college and I got into the hardcore business classes, I call them hardcore. I'm going to say what they are. And, a lot of people will be like, yeah, it's pretty basic stuff. But, stats, calculus, econ, I just got C pluses across the board. And I was like, okay, that's not going to win any awards. And so, I was like, maybe that's not where my core competency is. But I'd always been good at messaging and writing, whether verbal or written. And so I was kind of exploring going into more of a messaging and writing and communications career. But anyway, I started out in Japanese customer service at a direct selling company. And that company got acquired by another company, but when I was at that company, I was doing Japanese customer service, and I saw their monthly newsletter go out, and they didn't have a writer or an editor. And as I read it, I just noticed many, many errors. And so I took a copy of one of the newsletters and I redlined it, edited it, rewrote it, and I took it to the president and asked him if he would let me be their writer and editor half-time. So part-time I'll work Japanese customer service. The other time I'll be your writer and editor. Mm-hmm. And they thought that was cool. And so that proactive move put me on my path in marketing. So I worked as a copywriter editor there, and I did at my next company as well, and wrote for everything under the sun you can think of. Website, radio, print, brochures, corporate tours, technical stuff, product stuff, everything. And then I went to another very good company where I got to do a lot of things in marketing. And that's the really cool thing about marketing, is there's so much under the umbrella of marketing that you have the ability to kind of experience all those. So I went from writing to managing websites and being a product lead for product marketing, for launching a university, online university at one of the companies I worked for. And then I got into corporate communications, public relations, social media, branding, marketing. And I've just been honestly really blessed in this industry to work in so many areas of marketing. And it just grew from there with each company I went to.
And do you find with each one of those, I feel like I know the answer, but it was, we need this thing, can you figure out how to do it? Or did you feel like you had, I don't know, you gleaned from the experience you had? I mean, how did you pivot so quickly to every new kind of skill set that you had to create?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I just, when I'm at work, I'm kind of in fifth gear all the time. Just, work hard and get it done. I think, social media is a good example in 2008. And you were...
I know a little bit. Yeah.
That was you. So, we started pioneering that at the company we worked at. And that was just new territory. There was no choice.
Well, it was new territory, not just for our company, but for all companies. Like,
right.
The way I remember it was Coca-Cola's of the world. Yeah. We're doing social media, but everyone else was, social media is not for business, guys. It's like, we're going to make it for business and figure it out.
And then over the last 10 years, we've totally ruined that. And now...
yeah, we completely ruined it. Yeah.
Running ads
naturally.
Every day. Yeah, but that was fun. It was fun to just pioneer that. And, I've learned that we all have the same information. Like, everybody knows the same stuff. And it comes down to who executes it the best. I was recently at a conference workshop, just one here locally, where a vendor was presenting on the latest and greatest. And I'm just going to admit that I thought I had some insight on things that no one else was really thinking about, super cool stuff. Mm-hmm. And all of those things were discussed and brought up in this workshop. And it just dawned on me and I looked around and there were leaders from all these other companies that we compete with and work with, and even outside the industry. And they all heard the same thing. Maybe they didn't know it going into that workshop, but everybody knew it going out of that workshop. And I said to myself, it just comes down to who executes it the best. So when there's an opportunity before you personally as a worker or an employee or a leader that's new, you just have to take a hold of that opportunity and execute it better than anyone else and to your best ability. And then expand that to a company. That's what a company has to do, because we're all competing with the same information these days.
Yeah. And I find executing it the best can be interpreted a lot of different ways. For me in particular, it's getting movement and then getting momentum. Especially just doing it, like each day, each week, just chipping away at it. But how would you interpret, like, taking the same information and executing the best? What is that for you?
I'm going to answer your question with a quote.
Oh.
Now, I have to admit, I think the quote is from Fred Smith, the founder of FedEx. Okay. But if you Google it, I mean, Yogi Berra has said it. I think Bruce Lee, Wayne Gretzky, and Michael Jordan said it. It's one of those.
Who's like building this up?
But
That'd be a good one.
I'm going to give this to Fred Smith, founder of FedEx. And it's about the main thing. But first, would you like to know what the main thing is?
I would.
Okay. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing.
Oh.
So I think of our distributors when I think of that. So our main thing is marketers and running a company is not to get distracted by the latest social network, the latest app, the latest novel ingredient, the latest event firework thing that you can do. All of those things help facilitate a distributor's main thing, which is they talk to someone else about For Life or whatever company you're at. That is the main thing. They need to share the product with somebody else. Everything that we do as marketers and business owners is to support that. So if we keep that in mind, we won't get distracted by all of the opportunities out there, all of the things that we need to execute on, but they'll all be judged against that question and that measuring stick. Does this help the distributor achieve his or her main thing? If yes, then great. Let's reward them in cryptocurrency, whatever it is. Same thing for a business. It's different for, department by department. What is your main thing? It's an important question to ask.
I was talking to Rachel from Chatbooks, and she was saying that they have their 5 points of the star, and that's how they create a lot of clarity and focus, because I had mentioned that from day one of meeting her and talking to her. She was always really good about articulating everything with perfect clarity and just always really focused. And she mentions like that North Star. So it's kind of that same...
It's the main thing.
Yeah, it's the main thing where does everyone in your organization know that? Can they articulate it? Can they articulate it in similar ways? Or is everyone saying all the things, all the shiny things, which is pretty unique for an MLM company, because shiny, new, exciting things are typically the things that come to the table.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, it's a tool. It may be the latest, greatest thing. And your distributors, they may want that, they may demand that, they may believe that can help them, and it probably can. And so it's just a principle of not getting lost in what your purpose is. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do Facebook Lives or whatever it is, or this product or that product. But it's because we're helping you be able to talk to other people in a unique way. For example, personalized nutrition is getting better. It's been around for a long time. Fill out this survey and we'll tell you which product you should take. But everything is so customized and personalized these days that it's really getting to an interesting point with nutrition. And so we're working on developing tools that will help that. And you could call it a shiny new thing, but it's backed by science and it's following trends of digital marketing and media. So it looks like a great thing. But I think it'll work and be great because it will help people have something new and exciting that benefits the person they're talking to, share about For Life. And so that's something we're pursuing that we think is cool.
In terms of your day-to-day, I've worked with you before, I've known you for a long time, and I know that you like to accomplish, and you have a very perfecting mind when you're looking at things in the greatest way possible. But then you also have this ease about you. So tell me a little bit about leadership style and kind of how you encourage people to also be as scrutinizing as their own stuff, but not in a way that micromanages them or throws off a balance of like happiness in the work they're doing.
Yeah, that's important. So I would say my leadership philosophy is backbone and heart. So you have to have both as a leader. You can't just be a mean, hard-driving taskmaster and think that you're going to rally the troops because they hate you so much that they're going to bond over their hatred of you. That doesn't work. And then being all heart and all empathy, sympathy, and nice and friends and all that stuff, that doesn't work all the time. As a leader, you have to have backbone and heart. So talking a little bit about heart, I'll share a story a lesson that my mom taught me when I was like a teenager. So in my house, I grew up in Virginia, and we had a fireplace on this side, a chimney on the side of our house, like a real chimney that burned wood, and the smoke came out of it, and that Santa Claus could come down, like a real chimney, big chimney.
Flips.
Not the it was a real chimney. And coming off of that chimney outside was a sloping grass hill. And so I would kick a soccer ball against the chimney, and then it would roll down to me, and I would kick it again, and just rinse and repeat. It was the funnest thing. No, not the funnest thing I did as a child, because I had a better childhood than that. But it was fun. It was super fun. But on the other side of that wall was our den. I don't know if we have dens out here in the West, but in Virginia we have dens.
It sounds really like posh.
We would call it a living room.
Okay.
So on that wall there's a shelf, and on that shelf there's a plate, a decorative plate on a little easel, and it was a collector's George Washington plate. And I didn't know this, but every time I kicked the ball, that plate would through vibration make it closer and closer to the edge. And one day it fell off and it broke. And this is my mom's George Washington collector's plate. So, what do you think happened there? Ask the audience, what do you think happened? What would a typical mother do? It's not what my mother did. I didn't even find out about it for a number of days or weeks. And so she didn't run out and scream at me and say, how could you do this? It was days or weeks after that I even found out that it broke, and it just kind of came up. And I was like, Mom, why didn't you tell me about this? And she said, because people are more important than things. Isn't that good?
Yeah, that's really good.
I mean, it stuck with me all this time, forever, and it always will, is that people are more important than things. So if you're at work and there's a project and there's a deadline, or something doesn't get executed correctly, or somebody makes a mistake, guess what? People are more important than things. And you have to keep that in mind, because it's not fair to come down so hard when there needs to be kindness and leniency. Because if you do, it burns bridges. And ideally, you're working with these people for many, many years, and you just can't afford to have that loss of trust. Mm-hmm. So that's hard. But backbone is equally as essential as a leader. You just can't be the heart way all the time. There has to be accountability, and you have to make tough decisions and stick with them. They're not always popular, but you do your best, making the best decisions that you can for the company, and you stick with it.
Now, in terms of, taking care of employees, but also keeping that accountability. We have a book club here, and one of the books we've read is Extreme Ownership.
Mm-hmm, I've read that.
Yeah, it's a matter of maybe instilling some ideas. We work in a row environment, so results only work environment, so it's full autonomy. And surprisingly, that filters out anyone who needs more of a managed situation. But how else do we care for our employees on the day-to-day?
Yeah. So, it comes to mind that HR at our company has things in place to keep people on track with that. But something that I do within my department is to try to create a culture of learning, and for people to be excited about learning. Over my lifetime, sure, you as well, you've had people say, how do you like your job? Right? And people ask that.
Sure. And
I say, well, there's two parts to my job. There is the fact that I do marketing, and I love that. So I'm fortunate in that I was able to match my passion with my pension, the old saying goes. And that's an old saying because I don't think there are pensions anymore. But
I like it, though.
we can, you've never heard that?
I haven't, but the alliteration is spot on.
Yes, passion and pension, meaning that if you match your passion and what you love doing with your work, then you're happy. Okay, that's one aspect of a job. Mm-hmm. But when you say, how do you like your job? There's also the walls within which you do your work. And here we are at 97th floor, and you guys are in this beautifully branded building with awards galore on the walls and super awesome. But this is where you work. You work within these walls with these people and this culture. And that's the second part of your job. And that has to be taken into consideration when you answer the question, how do you like your job? So we try to create at For Life and in marketing a culture of optimism and learning. And so we have a weekly email that we send around. It's called Let's Keep Learning. And everybody will take a turn and they send this email on something that they've read within their area of expertise, and they put it forth to the whole marketing team and share something that they learned that week. And in that way, we're all kind of staying on top of our areas of expertise and then cross-sharing that with other people. And it's really been good. One way that I encourage people to do that is to keep learning by getting some kind of an app or news aggregator. I use Flipboard, which you can just go to Flipboard and type in what you're interested in. And so I've put in marketing and network marketing and social media and digital media, and it creates boards for you, and it will go to the far ends of the internet, and it'll pull into your Flipboard the most relevant content for that. I'm not even going to say day, for that hour. I mean, it's constantly being refreshed. So with one app, you can stay on top of whatever it is you do. And so I encourage my team at For Life to do that. And people know that. And so it says, okay, he wants us to keep learning and stay on top of what we're doing. And so I'm trying to create that culture. It's already there, but just trying to keep it going. And that helps make for a happier workplace.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever failed at anything, Brian? I'm really wondering, because I know you for this just like series of successes, but I mean, maybe tell me about a failure and what it taught you more than a success.
Yeah, so I would say that when I look back on the places I've worked, my failures have been sins of omission, meaning the things that I didn't do. Mm-hmm. The things I omitted, the things where I was a leader over a whole department or a certain area, and I would have had the ability, wouldn't have been easy, but I could have taken more risks. I could have pushed harder for something that I thought was creative and awesome that I didn't. I always showed up and worked hard and executed well on what we were supposed to be doing. And that's not to say that we didn't do some creative and new and some really cool things, but I always feel like I could have taken more risks in each position that I've left. And so those sins of omission, I wish I could go back and just be more bold. Because each of us has creativity and ideas inside of us, and we all have that, and it's easy to put it on paper, but then to champion that and say, this is my idea, and I want this, and I'm willing to bet resources behind it, and to fight with other company resources to see if we can get this in the IT rotation and get programming behind it. I mean, these are hard things, mm-hmm. And to fight for those things is important. And yeah, I wish I had done that more in the jobs that I've had in the past. And I've kind of vowed not to make that mistake here at For Life, because I am the head of marketing and I have more ability to implement than I ever have before. And so that's one thing I'm going to correct.
That's a really good point, because from the time I mentor college students, and a lot of them they just want their first job. Mm-hmm. So whatever it takes to get that first job. And for them, it's in the interview process, how do I prepare to answer the right questions in the right ways, in ways that will wow them, just be likable.
Right.
But I think that carries through. I mean, it's human nature. Is we want to be liked. We want to be likable. But if you're not polarizing at least a percentage of people, maybe you're not being bold enough.
That's right.
Is what I would.
That's right. And that's where backbone and heart comes in.
Yeah.
And then as I've grown into management positions, that's been the second leg of my career. The first leg was just marketing, knocking it out of the park best I can on all things marketing and delivering in an exceptional way. But the second half has been leading a team and developing people, and that's my greatest work now is having an excellent team and getting the best out of them. And I think it's important you have to be interested in your people, because I just can't take 30 people and expect them to all be the same. They're all different, and you have to meet them where they are and help them take the next step in their career and in their desires and their path, and help them take that next step.
Mm-hmm.
And so it takes a lot of time and effort, but it's worth it.
Now, in terms of, I ask everyone this, legacy, what is it that you want to be remembered for?
The things I've talked about today, that I kept the main thing,
mm-hmm.
and I stayed focused, that I had a sound, discerning mind that wasn't distracted by just whatever's new, but that I knew what the goal was, that I wasn't just in marketing, competing within my own company for the betterment of marketing, but to be there for the company and have a whole company view, what's best for the company, and to look at it from that perspective, so that the company can be successful, which means our distributors are successful, to keep the main thing. And as a leader, backbone and heart. Again, people, there has to be a leader that shows a direction and that shows the path, somebody that you can get behind and believe in. And so you have to have the backbone, and then you have to have the heart to lead people, to have them want to be with you in that journey. And so I think that's essential. The other thing that I'd like to be remembered for, I would say, is a team of leaders mentality. I believe that people are smart, and that everybody on my team and who I work with, they're hired for a reason. They went to school, they go to workshops, they study, they perfect their craft, they read blogs, they do all these things to stay expert on what they do. And for me to unilaterally just override what they're putting forth, which can happen, right? That can happen in business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's right. Obviously, at the end of the day, somebody has to make a decision, but a team of leaders means that everybody on your team is a leader within their own respective area, and that they should be respected and listened to for being champions of what it is that they do.
Love it. Well, thank you for being here today and for sharing everything and being part of the Mastermind Interview Series. So appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.